Hey everyone, so today's video we're going to be talking about Ascension Potions, which is what they're called by the community. What they're actually called in the game, I think, are called Arcana Soul something. We'll see here in a second. Hierarchy Soul Arcanas. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about these today, specifically the ones that you use for legendary heroes. So I've had a couple of people in the comments ask me, to make a video on how to prioritize these and what to utilize them on hero-wise. So the first thing that you need to know about these Soul Arcanas is they can only be used on fire, water, and wood heroes. There is a light and dark version of this, but you can only get it in one area of the game and one time, which is in these bounty hunts. It's the final reward for beating stage 80, and I've already used mine on my light Nick. So I can't show you what that looks like because his ascension is from that. But anyway, what we're talking about today is where and when to utilize these Soul Arcanas or Ascension Potions. So a general rule of thumb, I think, is to use these whenever you need, whenever you've plateaued in an area of the game. So let's say you are, at stage 11 in one of these dungeons, right? You're stage 11 at Ash Magisteria dungeon, and you need to get over the hump to try and get to stage 12. And you're looking at these teams, right? And you're saying, oh, I have these teams, but I just don't have the damage output to beat stage 12. What you can do is you can go to Opal, right? Opal is one of your main damage dealers. And if Opal isn't ascended, if you look at her ascension here, her very first ascension is base attack 15%. This is huge. It increases your attack stat in here, I think, by 600, 700. It's a crazy number. So it really helps push your damage forward. I know a lot of times when people are asking me that question, they want me to say, hey, what character should I upgrade their trait? Where should I use my Soul Arcanas to, get that additional ascension effect on my character's traits? And I'll go over a couple of those heroes, but I'm telling you right now, the Ascension Potions are most likely going to be more beneficial to you to get bonus stats out of your heroes that you're utilizing most frequently than trying to unlock a trait. All right? So that's just a general rule of thumb. To utilize those Arcana Potions to help you out wherever you're stuck in the game, prioritize it on one of the legendary or epic heroes that you have to give them those bonus stats to either help you survive better, because I know sometimes maybe in the Queen of Tides dungeon, people die too quickly from Queen, and they just need a little bit of boost to let their team survive a little bit longer. Those Soul Arcana Potions, they give your team additional HP, or maybe you have the damage stats, but your team's too slow. So the additional 15 speed from the Soul Arcana can get you over the hump. So even though that's a blanket statement, I think that's how best to utilize these potions. The other thing that I want to talk about is there are right now 3 ways to get one of these potions for free at certain times within the game. So in the arena shop, you can get one here for 2,000 tokens, and that's every single reset. So the arena season is 60 days long, so you can get a free one every 2 months out of here. Then The other option is completing Void Tower Hard. Void Tower Hard, it is the last reward for clearing, so you can get one for free each month out of Void Tower Hard. And then what we were just talking about in Storm Duel on Stage 15, if you're completing Stage 15 every single time, you'll be able to get a Ascension Potion every 2.5 months from here. So that's 3 Ascension Potions. Well, I guess 5, right? 2 from Void Tower Hard. Well, 4. 2 from Void Tower Hard, 1 from Arena, and then 1 from Storm Duel every 2.5 months. So you'll have 4 Ascension Potions for free. So that's how you get those. Okay, so moving on to the next question, right? Which is where to utilize your Soul Arcana Potions if you're looking to efficiently use them on characters that benefit from their traits. So this goes without saying, but any hero that has their trait ascended is going to get benefit from unlocking their Ascension effect, right? Like Bulin here, she gets an additional 100% increased induction damage from this. Like, that's a huge boost. But Bulin is still very, very good, even without her trait being unlocked. So I want to talk, at least in this section, about heroes that either need their Ascension trait unlocked or they are just significantly better with it unlocked. Okay? So it goes without saying that Desmond is the best character in the entire game, and if you have him A6, you should spend all Ascension Potions to get him A6. I am just kidding. Please don't ever do this. Desmond is useless. Okay. Bulin, like we just talked, she has a great trait, and whenever it's unlocked, she's even better, but she's useful even without it. God Fairy actually used to be this way. It used to be where her trait or his trait would only proc 50% of the time, and you needed it ascended to have it do 100%, but they since went away with that, which is a bit of a bummer because I used an Ascension Potion on God Fairy to get that A2, and since they changed it, that has since gone away, so that's a bit of a bummer. Now we're coming to our first hero that is pretty useless without their trait unlocked, but becomes actually a real threat with it unlocked, and that's Kasim. So Kasim grants himself dodge up at the start of the round. So it's different from the other dodge characters in this game, like Lydia or Levi, where they have a percentage chance to dodge, where this buff on Kasim is 100%. The only thing that can hit Kasim is Ashlyn. So Ashlyn is a really, really good wood hero that I'm going to make a guide on, but she has this ultimate on her light mode that says this ability can't be dodged. So even though Kasim's trait gives him this buff with dodge up that says 100% dodge, it still gets hit by Ashlyn. So keep that in mind. But anyway, this makes him a real threat. One, because you can build him a little bit slow, and he's still going to dodge at least one hit. And when he loops back around to his ultimate, he grants himself dodge up again. So giving himself this dodge up at the beginning of the round with a 3-turn cooldown is really key to allowing him to maximize some damage stats. So whenever he's looping back around and doing counterattacks on AoE and using his ultimate, you're going to get enough damage output that hopefully you're killing somebody with this to, again, shorten his ultimate to grant dodge up again by 2 turns. This is a really big buff to him, and he's unplayable without it. But with it, he becomes a true threat. So Kasim is definitely one of the first ones. The next one, these other ones are all 100% playable without their traits unlocked. The next one is Gangello. So Gangello used to be, the king of dungeons until they nerfed him indirectly. The dungeons on like Hell 4 stages now, they're not poisoned other than Gemini Dragon. And for that fact, he is still 100% needed to beat Hell 2 in Gemini Dragon. And on top of that, he needs his Ascension unlocked in order to do Gemini Dragon on Hell 2 and Hell 4. So this is 100% necessary if you want to prioritize Gemini Dragon, and it's going to go a long way for newer players that are trying to progress in the dungeon. So this is a great person to use your Ascension Potion on if you are an early game player and you're trying to grind for gear consistently. Gangello still makes things extremely easy for those new to mid-level players who are farming stage 12 or Hell 2 dungeons. He's a great option to use those Ascension Potions on to unlock that trait. Okay, next is Savannah. So I would not recommend using Ascension Potions on Savannah because obviously you can synthesize as many copies of her as you want with epics in the altar. But there are some uses for Savannah in this game, in other game modes, outside of PvP and things like that. But you definitely want her second Ascension upgraded to grant 100% of her attack instead of the 50%. 50% is okay, but the 100% is really noticeable. So this is something that you want to have on Savannah before you start utilizing her in some comps. But again, don't use Ascension Potions on her. You can synthesize her with epics. So don't make that mistake, please. So these other characters, Shane and Rachel, are fine. Goobeg. So I just made a video on Goobeg. Goobeg is completely useless with his trait. And with his Ascension, he does add some benefit in different areas of the game. He is an okay pick in Arena, in RTA. It varies, though. He does have some uses, as someone asked me in the comments once how he works with Guild Boss. So on Guild Boss, you just have to manual Goobeg, which is a bit of a bummer. But he kind of pairs well with Jacob, especially if he gets Jacob's trait locked onto him, which anytime Goobeg attacks with his basic, Jacob will also attack. So you can get 4 rage on Jacob using Goobeg. So that's kind of nice. On top of that, he pairs well with Opal, which I showcased in my video, along with Crazed Urzag. So Goobeg does have some interactions within the game that make him fun to play, especially if you have him A5. But at the same time, you should not prioritize him because he's not that great in the game. But as this video is about, from an Ascension Potion standpoint, having his trait unlocked makes him playable, where if you don't have it unlocked, he is not playable. So that's actually all of the heroes that benefit from their traits being unlocked. All of these other heroes are 100% usable without their trait being unlocked. So Kasim really benefits from his trait being unlocked. Goes from unplayable to actually really good. Gangello is needed if you want to do some of those Gemini Dragon comps. Savannah is unplayable without her trait being unlocked, but you should use Synthesis. And Goobeg, without being ascended and having his trait unlocked, he's useless. And with it unlocked, there are some areas of the game that he's okay, but you should not prioritize. Okay, so moving on to fire. First up is Geralt. So Geralt, even though he is good without his trait being unlocked, I will say that the difference of usability with Geralt is so much different. Gaining that bonus turn is just super, super important. It does a bunch of things for him. One, you usually run him in Cursed Set, which grants him bonus attacks. And with that bonus turn, you're able to loop back around to get into that Azura state so much quicker and easier than without him being ascended. So Geralt is a good hero without being ascended, but a great hero while being ascended. So he's a very nice option, especially if you're more PvE focused. He's a really great hero in Void Tower Hard. He's very good in Tulpa Dungeon. He's very good in Guild versus Environment. So Geralt is a very nice hero there. So Giranol is another one. So she is a monster in normal arena. I've talked about this in a couple different videos. But her trait, because you need to prioritize attack stats, she tends to be the slowest person in the team. So if that's the case, she can be killed fairly easily. But if she's ascended, she gets death immunity whenever she's about to die. This buff can be removed, so that is one thing to think about. But at the same time, the fact that they'll have to bring somebody that can remove buffs or some kind of CC ends up making this trait well worth the books. So Giranol is another one of those heroes where she's very good without her trait, but with her trait, she doesn't need as much support to be a threat. So Giranol is another nice option for those Ascension pots to get her up to that Ascended 5. If, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you don't have other heroes that need the pots just for the stat boosts. So these next two characters are okay. Cirrus is another one. Now, Cirrus has kind of fallen out of the meta, and I don't think you should really prioritize Ascension pots or anything on her, but I will say that I really don't think she's useful without being ascended, because her main use is going to be in Faction Wars or also Void Tower Hard for specific levels, and with that, you really need to have this once like this every one turn instead of 2 turns. I just don't think she's going to be usable without that Ascension. But she is bottom of the totem pole. If you have any of the other fire heroes like Valeria, Geralt, Giranol, you can, or even Bella, I'm pretty sure you can prioritize them over Cirrus. But goes without saying that I don't think she's that useful unless she is ascended to have her trait unlocked. So again, Zitlin gets all of his value from his ultimate. Hector is getting a lot of his value from his increased damage taken debuff, although he does get some kind of benefit from increasing his damage by double, but at the same time he's not the true star where Hector is used. It's other things. Same thing with Bran, getting the boost from the health is fine. Balberith just gets additional health, so you don't need a whole lot of pots there. The other one here that I think is not very useful unless he's Ascended 5 is Ralph. So Ralph has a couple things going for him. One, he deflects damage for your team if he's Ascended 5, and he gets this really big shield. Without that, he needs to use his ultimate first to get a shield, and then he becomes useful again. So if he's Ascended 5, you can build him really, really slow and tanky, and even if he's slow and tanky, he's still utilizing his passive, where he's counterattacking and possibly taunting people. So Ralph is one of those characters that probably most people do not have, because he was one of those Matrix heroes where you have to use badges to get him. He should be available to the masses here in normal summons coming up shortly. But for now, most people probably don't have him. So I think that, I know for sure that he's not very useful unless you have him A5. But he's kind of a niche character right now. I think he's quite good. But at the same time, to sync, 5 Ascension Potions into him, which you would need to do considering you can't pull him from shards, is something that I think is not a very smart move by most people. So Florence is, amazing without anything. Even level 50, she's amazing. Darcy's useless. Taliesin does benefit from his trait being upgraded, but at the same time, he's still extremely useful without it. Levi, though, in my opinion, is one of those characters kind of like Kasim, where he is kind of useless unless he's A5, but when he's A5, as I have, I think, shown in multiple videos, is a real threat. Being able to counterattack and then launch a bonus attack with his ultimate ability is just, it's absolutely nuts to have on a trait. So Levi is one of those characters that if you have him and you want to play him, you definitely need to use your Ascension pots on him. The bummer is also he was Attack on Titan collaboration hero, so you can't pull any more of him. You're going to have to use Ascension pots. But yeah, he goes from useless to kind of God mode whenever he is A5. So then these other heroes here, again, very good whenever they have their trait unlocked, but I don't think they need them to be good. Alicia is amazing without it. I will tell you that her Ascensions, just for stats, are really important, more so than her actual trait to get that damage reduction. This is a nice boost, but she is 100% playable without them. The new hero that is part of the summon event right now, Rosalie, is also another one of those heroes that benefits greatly from this Ascension because she's going to be doing those bonus attacks, but I think she's still really good without it. She does get a boost, but again, I don't think she is 100% necessary to have her trait unlocked. And then Gavin is kind of niche and still playable without his trait. His trait doesn't do much, but again, he does get better without it. He does get better than without his trait unlocked, but that's true of all these heroes. Okay, so last bunch here. So Hyam's fine without her trait unlocked. All it does is reduce her cooldown. Therese takes takes reduced damage, which is very strong, but still he's quite good even without his A5. He just kind of needs books. Tia, same thing. She's used for her ultimate, not really for her trait, although unlocking her trait is good. We are now moving on to Nero. So Nero does have an A5 Ascension, but it is extremely strong. One, he buffs himself even more with this Frostguard 2, giving himself 50% defense instead of 25%, and reducing all of your enemy's speeds by 15, which is unblockable, it's unremovable, is just absolutely nutty. Nero is amazing. On top of that, all of his stats actually help. His HP, his attack, his defense, speed, all of those things matter for Nero. So none of the Ascension pots are wasted in any way. If you have a Nero, if I had, to make a shotgun decision and someone said, okay, well, you have these 5 Ascension potions and you have every hero in the game, who do you use it on? I'd say Nero. So if you're looking for a clear-cut decision on who you should use Ascension pots to use on for trait purposes, Nero is your guy, in my opinion. So Blackhorn, it's kind of a niche character. His upgraded trait is good, but again, don't need to use it there. Pluto doesn't need his trait upgraded. He's good without it. Same thing with Tashir. Alun is useless. Mikasa is another one of those heroes that, I feel like her Ascension is useless with this focus being increased because where she's used, the resistance of bosses and stuff like that is so low that like the focus. Even if she has really low focus, she's still putting up bleeds and stuff. It's odd. Thor is another one that is still useful without his trait being unlocked, but obviously unlocking it does make him stronger. Aaron, this is another one where this character is just absolutely amazing, even without ascensions. But with an A5 ascension, he is just nutty. He has this ability where, whenever he accumulates rage, once he gets 8 rage, he does his ultimate ability, and he accumulates rage by people putting up negative effects on enemies. So that's amazing already. But whenever his trait's unlocked, he reduces the cooldown of all of his team members' ultimate ability by 1 turn, which is absolutely nuts. Like, that is an insane ability on a trait. And Aaron is someone that I'm actually debating on using my Ascension potions on to get him to Ascension 5. Not because I think he's great in PvP. It's just I want to start helping my guild a little bit more in like guild versus environment, and he is amazing in PvE content. So I am debating on ascending him myself, but he is a great option if you're looking for someone who gets so much stronger out of his trait being unlocked. But I will tell you, he's great even without it. So Sierra is another one, but she's a synthesis hero, and she's still good even without the trait being unlocked. None of these heroes really need their traits unlocked at all. The other one here, Afroni, I think someone has made comments in the comment section that I'm pronouncing this wrong. I don't know if I pronounced it wrong that time. But Afroni is one of the new meta heroes right now. She's absolutely amazing, and I wish I had her. She is like Aaron, where she's absolutely great even without being ascended and having her trait unlocked, but she just gets so much stronger with having this Berserker 2 trait unlocked. I've faced some Afronis that have one-shot my Nero, and it dealt like 25k damage or something like that. It was insane, and it was ascended 5. So this hero again is a beast without ascension, but whenever her ascension is unlocked, it's scary. And then the last one is Lydia. So Lydia has kind of fallen out of the meta. She's still a really good RTA pick. The problem is like Kasim, Ashlyn, and stuff like that just gets completely around dodge, and that is Lydia's thing. So she counterattacks whenever she dodges. She does 220 damage and then ignores enemies' defenses by 50%, which is crazy. But when she's ascended, she actually gets lifesteal. So she she gives herself some self-sustain, which is really, really important to Lydia. Because if you don't one-shot Lydia and then she keeps healing back up, with an Ashlyn, you're just praying to the RNG gods. So she's a character that is good without it, but she becomes a real nuisance whenever she has her trait unlocked. So that's kind of my general guide on those Ascension potions, guys. I gave you a list of, I think 13 heroes that I think truly benefit from the traits being unlocked. So there's not a whole lot of characters in the game that go from, useless to amazing with that trait unlocked other than those 13 characters. And then of those 13, there was only like 2 or 3 of them that made the character playable when they were unplayable. So that's why I go back to my general statement that the main focus of your Ascension pots should just be to get statistics. Anytime you can boost your stats of your characters is just going to go so much further than usually having the trait unlocked. So like even right here, Rachel getting that 15 speed is going to benefit so much more than just getting, 10 additional crit damage each bonus attack that she does. It's just, that makes her better, obviously, because it's something she didn't have before. But at the same time, if you can spread the wealth of your Ascension potions for stats on all of your heroes, it's going to go a much farther way than wasting all of your Ascension pots in one hero. So that's what I got for you today. I hope you found it helpful. If you guys agree or disagree with any of my choices that I talked about when we were going through the index, let me know, and we'll have a little chat about it. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.